Last time on the Poverty Printer project, we showcased how the thing was the spiritual successor to my original Maker Farm Pegasus 8-inch. That video left out the custom heated beds that this printer needs. This video won't leave those out. It's all about how I made my own magnetic heat bed, then got bored and made a G10 bed as well. This is not a tutorial, it's a project diary. But I am super happy with these results, and I think these construction methods may work elsewhere. So in other words, this goes hard. Feel free to screenshot. First, we have to take off the old bed. It's a relic from version 2 of this printer. The entire Y-axis was one of the first parts I replaced from the old plywood parts. And actually, I think this was also my first Sen project too. Yeah, it must have been. It was way before the Miata ITV project. While I'm in here, I'm also gonna pull out my old power supply. I think it's finally time to jump up to 24 volts. I know that's still behind the times, but it's kind of like the release of the 50 series cards. I can finally afford a 30 series.
The more you buy, the more you save. The more you buy, the more you save.
The next thing to do is look at the CAD, but I really don't want to. Even though I take classes on it for my degree, I just hate Fusion 360. Just looking at it pisses me off. These days, I am proud to daily drive FreeCAD. But this is an older project from before I made that switch. So, here we go. Starting at the top, there's an aluminum sheet with holes for magnets. And they aren't pressed in, just stuck to the steel sheet underneath. It also acts as a heat spreader. Below that are some spacers to accommodate a silicone heating pad. This is all sandwiched by the bottom plate that bolts to my linear rails. Ideally, this should have an intermediate attachment point, but I was too lazy to give it wings. Oh, and we can't forget about the doohickey. Yeah, it just holds the belts. I would love to go put this together, but critical oversight is my middle name. Don't forget that. So I messed up the tolerances and need to drill out all of the holes. Screwing up screw holes is normal for me, but I also goofed on the magnet holes. So I gotta take care of those too. So I'll be back in a sec. I'm sure there is a more efficient way to deburr these spacers, but you know what? It's the best I've got for today. And an automatic tapping head sure would be nice. So the way it works essentially is that this sheet will be on the bottom, which will sort of cradle that heater in place, which will be propped up by these various outer wall shim pieces, whatever, what have you, followed by the steel plate, and then the aluminum with the holes in it, and the magnets go on top of this, and that's about as small as a form factor I can achieve, realistically, I think. So that should hold everything roughly in place while I position this. So I got the fit pretty tight, so it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to put this directly on there. Which I knew that. And that's why precisely why I got more of those spacers, so I can build them up as we go. So the question is, how many of these am I going to need to clear the not so fun part? Does that fit? Yes, that fits. Because the problem is I have to accommodate this BS that sticks out the top, which I really wasn't looking forward to. And while I shouldn't be cutting the heater, there's like extra stuff on here that doesn't need to be For some reason, making this entire package as compact as possible was really important to me. I'm still not sure why. These low-profile button screws should not be a problem. They shouldn't interfere with anything, I don't think. And if they do, mission failure, we're screwed. That should be square, but if it isn't, oh well. What the hell was that? Oh, my screwdriver. I just cut these in half and took them down with a file, and they'll work perfectly. The reason why I was making sure this was done properly is because it goes upside down. Damn it. I do really enjoy putting in all the magnets, though. It's kind of satisfying. I guess it wasn't satisfying enough to get B-roll of this printer actually working with the magnet bed, because I don't have any footage of it. Oh man, that is nice. Wow, okay, that's a little too strong. So, you'll just have to take my word for it that it works. And it does. A friend got me interested in printing on fiberglass, so I just had to try it. The pursuit of perfection has led me down many winding paths before. At first, I went overboard printing on a 1/4 inch thick piece of G10. Why? Well, I don't know. Sometimes I just do that. I'm not compensating for anything. Once it was at temp, it worked great, but it just took forever to get there. You can guess why. I was also worried about it off-gassing, which it was. Some nasty mix of chlorine or bromine, I'm sure. Yay! I have a fume extraction system, but we can do better. So I found some FR4 that would not release halogens in the 1/8 inch variety. It was cut to size and through holes drilled, just like the thicker plate. But special care needed to be given to its fasteners. The fat piece was good with some countersink holes for the bolt heads, but there was no room on this piece. I had to cut very shallow countersinks and turn the bolt heads down to fit. I did not have the proper tools for this, but we made it work. I think this is also where I cooked the motor in my lathe, because the start capacitor definitely doesn't work anymore. But once those were prepared, it was time to assemble. I took the black one off and cleaned off the dry thermal paste. I'm not sure if this helped, but I don't see any reason not to try. I only had one extra screw with the flatter head, so I really couldn't afford to lose any. This didn't work as well as I liked. The smaller piece did not keep heat well enough, and I decided to remove the steel spreader plate, which was impossible thanks to the glue Canovo uses. I also don't know how to pronounce their name. So I ordered another one and tried again. Oh yeah, you know what this is. Another heater, because I definitely didn't mess up the other one. Every single can of that stuff I buy is the hardest thing to get out of the tube ever. I don't understand why. This time I used high temp RTV to attach it to the plate. It's messy, but it works, I think. After that, I just need to plumb it back in. And finally, success! This is the best heat bed I've used so far. It's a far cry from my days of printing on window panes, and the fiberglass weave is an amazing texture for keeping prints on the bed. Now, I only print with ABS because I'm not a pussy, but also because I have 43 rolls, but that's a story for later. And once you try vapor honing, there's just no going back. I did find a stray roll of 6-year-old PLA to test with, and some modern PET G to try, and both are phenomenal. I can't speak for its flexibility, considering mine is hard-mounted and thick, but, I don't care. For ABS, I just idle at 20 degrees below glass temp and it'll come off. Although I still prefer to use glue sticks as a release medium, but that's just old habits die hard. The bed temperature stays below the material limit, but my filament obviously does not. This has led to some browning that I assume is a burn. but it doesn't seem to have any ill effect, and I don't really care. I printed with this bed for a year, and it's held up fine. As you can see, it's usually smaller prints in the middle. By the time I feel the need to replace the bed, I won't, because I'll just build a VZ-bot. I do love this printer, but, there's just no beating a modern Core XY. I am really happy I can get 200 millimeters a second out of this thing, but, well, I always want to go faster, so who knows? Maybe that'll be another project. Catch you later.